Hello everybody, Daz here. Welcome to a new episode of DazMode, whatever. I don't even know what kind of episode is that, but I hope it will be interesting to some of you. So, we got really busy recently. That's the reason that you don't see many videos. But I appreciate everybody who supports DazMode store because you keep lights going and you also keep this channel going indirectly because we don't have any real sponsorships or anything like this, so everything is funded out of DazMode, essentially, just for the love of water cooling. So a lot of people, believe it or not, still building their first loops, and they come up with the same kind of questions all the time, which makes it a little bit boring and sometimes even annoying to answer the same stuff again and again. So I decided to make a little bit fun out of it. And I was writing down all questions I was getting by email or by phone. And if they get repeated again and again, I kind of marked that down. And I composed top 10 Watercooling Noobs questions based on the frequency asked in the past week. Today is Friday, by the way. So I'm going to make this video go home. But before that, I would like to share stuff with you. Of course, some of you guys who follow my channel for a while probably yawning right now because you probably already know all the 10 questions. So it's up to you if you'd like to stick with me or you'd like to skip it till next video. But everybody else who interested, right along. So let's go with our top 10 most asked questions in water cooling. I have it right down in my notebook right here, old style. Question number 10. How often do I change my liquid? General answer on this question is at least once a year. Think about your computer as your car. So you need to change oil every 6,000 miles or whatever, 10,000 kilometers. So similar story here. So you have even some liquids that you use in your computer similar to coolants used in the cars. So eventually you need to change them. There is some liquids which is actually not required changes, and it's mostly related to so-called nanoliquids. Examples is Ice Dragon or Mayhem pastels. Those ones do not deteriorate over the time. But I'd like to make a special note here. I even have before I do that, I have a few customers who have Ice Dragon migrating from like one build to another like for 4 years or 3 years, so they keep reusing it and the properties doesn't change, so it still has all stuff that you need. But there's one thing that you also need to keep in mind, because liquid goes through a computer, eventually some metals, some particles get dissolved in it. So if you start with a almost non-conductive liquid, after a year of use, liquid becomes pretty much conductive. So if you get a leak, it's more chance you get a damage if you don't caught it in time. So even if you use a Ice Dragon or pastel for a long time, it's probably pretty much conductive. And it's up to you if you want to change it or not because of that. But if you use something else, Fizzer 1 or Mayhem XT, EK Evo, it's all the same stuff, most likely based on ethylene glycol, so it's similar stuff that you use in cooling systems in the cars, or air conditioners sometimes. That one you have to choose about once a year because it's losing its properties. So it's kind of winded answer, but I hope it helped you. So general rule of the thumb, if you change it once a year, you're 100% fine. If you have a nanoliquid, decide for yourself what you want to do. Number 9. How we avoid organic growth in my loop. Basically, what kind of biocide I need to buy extra. The answer is none. Because those days when you have like crappy bullshit liquids sold all over the place, gone. All reputable manufacturers, unless you're buying some nonsense from eBay or some no-name Chinese websites that they sell you, I don't know what they sell you. You covered 100%. All liquids from Ice Dragon or Mayhem or EK or Fizzer, whatever you see on the market, they already have biocide built in, and they have anti-corrosive additives sometimes built in as well. So you don't need to buy stupid silver coils or copper sulfide. There's all this nonsense. Those homemade remedies that make sense 10 years ago, but now you still see recommendation on the forums, but they have zero value. So save your money, buy proper liquid from known water cooling manufacturer, and don't worry about anything. You don't get any damn growth in your loop. Alright? So simple answer. Moving to number 8. How long do I need to leak test my system? On this one, I recently changed my position a little bit. If you read most of the forums or even watch my previous videos, the general recommendation 24 hours. But after building so many systems for myself, for my friends, sometimes for my customers, I can rest assure you, if you forgot to put stop plug in place, or your tubing is not properly seated, or any other mistake, like even faulty block and stuff like this, unless it's totally hidden, you will see it right away. I never saw any problem develop really late. Even if you have a really small leak out of your tube, usually in 20 minutes you'll see it kind of drop, start growing up. I never saw any issues which happen really late in the game. So if we speak about hour 15 or 17 or 20, usually you don't see problems here. So I would say that maybe 24 hours is a little bit too much of the recommendation. Of course, if you have some leak test, let's say inside of your GPU block, and a really small one, but probably even 24 hours wouldn't cure. So I don't think it's much value to do it that long, but maybe at least few hours, that's for sure. And you need to inspect your system really well before you go live. But there's a second aspect which is not related to dripping water. It's related to expunging air out of your system, because it's not that easy to replace insides of your loop full of air with a liquid. There's some dead zones and stuff like this, so it takes time a little bit to get rid of air, and also it sometimes gets sucked back to pump, and you get this infinite loop of fine mist going through. So from that perspective, I would like to tell you that unless you see more or less bubbles gone, I wouldn't recommend you to go live. So make sure you bleed it properly, because if you have a like big bubble inside of your CPU block, for example, which is create a hot spot essentially, maybe in a bad place, and you are overclocking your system significantly, that might pose some risk as well. So leak test is one part, but bleeding air is second part. Make sure you address both before you go live. All right? That was my recommendation, 2017 variation of it. Let's look on number 7. What block will fit my GPU? Well, this is a dreaded question. I actually don't have time usually to help my clients to search every part number because I'm busy enough, but there's a simple way to resolve it. The best way to check if there is a GPU block available for your video card is go to AK Waterblocks water cooling configurator. AK basically, AK Waterblocks, the biggest manufacturer of GPU blocks and pretty much number one in that area. And it's most likely you have chance to see your block made is would be by AK. Sometimes can be other companies, but if AK doesn't do it, I almost guarantee you that nobody else do it. So what you do, you go to this website, micro website, you punch your model, make, part number sometimes, and the picture will pop up so you can verify that's the right card that you're talking about, and it will tell you which blocks will it fit. If there is also some words such as a reference design or founders edition, this usually means that it's kind of standardized type of circuit board that was created by NVIDIA or AMD originally, and it means that other manufacturer other than AK like Watercool, AlphaCool, Aqua Computer or Beats Power, if they say reference design as well for the same number like 1080 Founders Edition or 980 Ti reference design, then other manufacturer will fit as well. So you start with a K, but if you don't like a K and you have kind of reference design situation, you might go to other places and check it out. But it's ultimately your job to find out what fits, and it's not that difficult, but just takes time to dig information out. All right, so maybe it's not as helpful as you hope for, but that's the situation, how it works, at least at DazMode. Number 6. This one. How big radiator do I need? I repeated 100 million times that general rule that single core radiator, for like piece of radiator for one fan, will be enough for one hot component. Hot component is your either CPU or GPU. You can ignore memory, motherboard blocks, SSD blocks, hard drives blocks, like name it. They don't really give up that much heat, so you don't really care. But you care about CPU, GPUs, because they're really hot parts that really will heat your water. So if you have a just GPU, even single radiator will work in most cases. Dual will give you some additional peace of mind. And the same story with everything else. You have CPU and GPU, two components, dual radiator will do the job. Triple will be a little bit overkill. Go any further is stupid. Some people do, but I wouldn't recommend it. If you have a SLI and CPU, like 3 components, triple radiator will be fine. Quad will be even more. But again, going any further, I don't know. If you have too much money, be my guest. But realistically, no. People constantly asking me if I overclock it, if I do this, if I do that. I can tell you, this rule failed me only once, and even not completely. I had a test bench with 295X2. This bloody AMD card that it's like it's a furnace, and there are no other card on the market anymore like this. That one failed for slim radiator. So I put my slim radiator dark side 30mm one, and my temperature keep climbing up. So that system wasn't stable. I put EKXE 60mm radiator, and it was overclocked, no problem. It worked. So general rule applies. And with new card like 1080, all this, even AMD stuff, it's not as hot anymore. So don't worry about it. If you're on a budget, go with my rule, you're fine. If you like a little bit quieter system, you can increase like by 1, maximum 2 cores, and you slow down your fans. So your balance between noise and performance is the speed of the fans and size of radiator. So you can play with both. I hope this helps. Moving to number 5. Is one DDC pump or one D5 enough for my loop? I have blah 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 blah. I don't care what you have. Both pumps is overkill. Whatever you have, it will be enough. That's a simple answer. Those industrial pumps was artificially brought into computers. So one was for scientific research, like DDC, used a lot of in medical research and chemical research and like other science research. It's also used in automobile industry. D5 used like in jacuzzi and stuff like this. So don't even worry, your tiny PC, doesn't matter how much money you plug and how much water cooling equipment you put in it, it's unlikely it will get any problems. Unless your tube collapses, and then nothing will work, right? So don't worry, you get DDC or D5, you cover it. You might want 2, it's not us here, but the reason you want 2 it's not enough performance. You might want some redundancy because any electrical device still can fail. And if you don't have a protection that your system shut down, when the temperature goes up, one pump gone, second still go. For that reason, I always use 2. But it's more of a question of being paranoid rather than it's really necessary. Okay? All right, going to number 4. How to clean my radiator. This is one of the most controversial subjects. You have so many recommendations all over the place. Like use vinegar and use chemicals and that. Even companies sell special products specifically for cleaning radiators. I can give you a little secret of mine how I clean a radiator, and it costs me freaking nothing. So what I do, I connect radiator to my tap water and run it on hot for good 10 minutes. Any crap inside get melted and washed away. And I never had any problems with any of my builds, or my client builds, or my friends' builds. Alright? I never use any stupid vinegar, which will eventually, if not washed correctly, will erode your nickel plating of your blocks. I don't use any like paid solutions, so if you feel like, be my guest. But my way always works for me. So when I finish my flushing with tap water, which obviously not the good type of liquid for your system, I just flush it with distilled once, and after it's good to go. So simple solution, feel free to use it if you want to. Moving to number 3, getting closer to the end. Does tube size matter? Should I use like this size or that size, blah blah blah. No freaking difference. Forget about it. It's all the same damn thing. The only reason you want to choose tube bigger or smaller for visuals. If you have a massive case and small tube will look kind of stupid, go for the bigger tube for the looks, but doesn't mean you get any improvement in your degrees. And one of the reasons for that even if you have tube like this, everything gets reduced at the fitting level to whatever quarter G hole you get. So, and it's usually smaller than any tube you're using. So you might have a big tube, but after that you have a bottleneck and bottleneck and bottleneck and bottleneck with every freaking fitting. So again, choose what you like or what's available for you or what's cheaper for you, and you will be getting the same result. Doesn't matter what you choose in terms of the sizing. Number 2, does the reservoir size make any difference in performance? I don't know where people get that nonsense, but it's question get asked like few times a week. And anybody can explain me, if you have a reservoir like this, how hell it's help you to, I don't know, to lower your temperatures. Yes, it takes longer to boil big pot of water versus small pot of water, but doesn't mean that it will absorb energy forever. So yes, it takes longer to equalize temperatures with a bigger reservoir, but it makes absolutely no difference. The only reason you need a reservoir is to feed your pump with the water without interruption. So you don't damage your pump and you don't have any performance issues. Other than that, it makes no difference. And you can have a buffer like this, or you can buffer like that, and you get the same result. Alright? So don't sweat about this. You choose the size of reservoir or shape of reservoir that you like. And it's, again, if you have a massive case and you have this little reservoir somewhere, maybe it will look a little bit odd. So you might want like a bigger bottle of water so it looks a little bit balanced. But other than that, absolutely no freaking difference. And absolutely number 1 question this week for me, does the loop order matters? No, doesn't matter. Some people saying that if they put CPU right after radiator will yield them like big performance boost. No, water moves too fast, everything gets equalized basically throughout your loop. Some small differences like half degree, 1 degree at most, but you don't really get any difference if you connect your CPU right after the radiator or whatever other ideas you have. So connect the way you like it, and or it's easy for you. There's only 2 small footnotes about this question. There's 2 things that you need to make sure you do it right. First of all, some of the CPU block, because they optimize for maximum performance, they have a dedicated inlet outlet. So don't be stupid and don't connect it opposite way. Then you definitely lose quite a few degrees. So it doesn't mean it wouldn't work, but if you go through the S, you get through the S result. Second, pumps always have proper inlet and outlet because it supplies water from one port And after that, whatever device that inside pushes water out, push it from specific port. So if you connect it wrong way, it will spin, but no water will go. Everybody makes this mistake, including myself, a couple of times, that's for sure. You get distracted, connect the wrong way, and it's like, oh, nothing works. So that's the thing. And finally, another thing that you need to keep in mind, back to pumps, I already mentioned it in this video. Pump doesn't suck water. It's supplied with water by gravity. So you need to have your reservoir or whatever water supply for your pump physically above the pump. So go from a reservoir to pump, not from the pump to reservoir. I have a just customer last week that have a weird issue that he added some coloring his system to the bigger reservoir, and all colors left on the top, and it didn't mixing properly, and we couldn't figure out what the hell is going on. But then I found out that he has an in and out in the bottom reservoir, and also pump was supplying water to a reservoir as well. So the whole thing was so screwed that you have a lot of water like moving in the bottom reservoir and nothing was moving on the top, and that's the reason why he got this result. So you see, if you do it as soon as he reverses the flow, everything gets mixed right away. So that's the story. And the guy was like scratching his head for actually a couple of years, and he even changed the liquids and paid for extra liquids, thinking maybe it's some liquid fault, but it turns out just bad design. Alright guys, I don't know how much was it entertaining, but that's what I did this week. I wanted to share with you, and I did share it with you. So enjoy my videos. I see you soon with more updates. I still need to make this massive case review. Don't have a heart start lifting it, but we'll see how it goes. Have a good weekend and see you soon. Bye.